Aladdin is one of the more unique heroes when it comes to character identities in Ravenswatch. He has one of the hardest hitting abilities in the game, has easy access to vulnerability, is great in co-op, and is the only character that has infinite damage potential. If you're new to the game and are trying to play Aladdin after playing a character like Beowulf, you might feel like his abilities aren't doing anything and he might feel too slow for you. This is because Beowulf doesn't need a lot for his abilities to feel good. You use your trait, then power, special, or defense. It's pretty straightforward, but Aladdin works a lot differently. His design philosophy seems to be based a lot more around positioning, flow, and synergy through his talents. Let's get into it. Starting with his attack, it does a short combo that ends in an AoE. Each attack will consume an enchantment point if available to strike twice and deal more damage. If you didn't read this would be a big reason why Aladdin would feel weak. You want to attack while having enchantment up. In his base kit with no talent upgrades, the only way to get enchantment is through his special, which will throw his scimitars out. You can't use your attack during this, but your blades will gain enchantment for each enemy hit, so it's best to throw it into a big group where it can hit multiple enemies over and over, building a lot of enchantment. His power is his hardest hitting ability and does a big punch with his Jinn. It does more damage if you hit at max range, so get used to this range while you're in the starting circle. His defense is phenomenal and makes you intangible, so it can help you avoid all damage except for the big AoE slams with red outlines. Each enemy passed over with this backflip becomes vulnerable, making them take 25% more damage. The final ability is his trait, which is one of the more unique ones. You start with 3 charges, and you get 1 at the start of each chapter. If you use his trait, then power, it'll do a heavy hitting AoE all around. If you use his trait, then defense, it will fully heal or revive all nearby heroes and give shield. But the meta with Aladdin comes from using your trait and then special, which will give you some dream shards and a consumable, which is a permanent stat increase through the run. This gets better in co-op as all heroes with you get a consumable as well and share the dream shards. Now before getting into how to play Aladdin, I want to mention this as it'll probably get brought up. Aladdin can one-shot everything in the game with the right setup. This requires at least 5 leprechaun coins, which gives you dream shards for each reroll, but their super effect at 5 makes it so the first reroll choice is free. It's also recommended to have at least 4 golden eggs, which will give you 1 damage every time dream shards are consumed. With 4, you'll get 4 damage every time they're consumed, but their super effect is a 30% bump to dream shard gains. Hope Diamond here also helps to double your dream shard count. Now what you want to do is take his first ultimate, which will let you consume 150 dream shards to earn another trait charge. With that, use your trait to get a consumable, and you will be able to re-roll this, giving you more than enough dream shards to use your ultimate again. The best time to do this is after you finish a chapter while you're in the starting area and the timer doesn't start. Here you can infinitely boost your crit chance, crit damage, and damage, allowing you to one-shot everything. This is a bit of an exploit and will probably be addressed in the future. If it's a thing that you find fun, then go ahead and do it now because it probably and hopefully will disappear at some time. Other than that busted wish build, I think Aladdin has 2 main builds / playstyles. His power focus build and playstyle, and his attack plus enchantment plus defense build and playstyle. His power setup is a bit easier to play, so I'll go over that first. This clip right here was before the newest update, but this style of build will let you do things like this. The main talents you want are the starting talent Jinn's Might for more damage on a charge punch, Jinn's Fury so that your power can strike 3 times with more damage, and finally one of the strongest individual talents, Sword Jinn. Sword Jinn makes it so that if you have thrown your blades you can catch them with your power and deal a lot more damage. It'll also strike 3 times if you have Jinn's Fury. This build focuses a lot on your position, so you can get the most out of your power as it's going to be the thing that helps you clear camps the most. Now there's 2 ways to catch your blades to activate Sword Jinn. The first is going to be punching into them. So with this, you get a bunch of enemies into a big group, throw your blades into them, and then as the blades are close to the end of their cycle, you're going to punch into the group from a distance to help clear the camp and activate Sword Jinn. The other way is to catch them as they're returning to you. Say you have a big group of enemies to your left and you just threw your blades into them, but there's a big spider to your right that's spawning a bunch of eggs. If you use your power as the blades are returning to you and they return before the end of your animation, it'll count as a catch and Sword Jinn will proc. One other thing that you can do with this build that'll make your power a lot stronger is using the vulnerable with your defense. I don't think this is too important to focus on in camps. I think you'll be doing enough damage without this, but definitely use this when it comes to fighting bosses or bigger corrupted enemies. The best way to do this would be throw your blades towards the edge of the boss so that you can backflip over them without catching them. Then dash away from your blades, giving you some space so that you can activate your power, and then you'll turn back on the boss, catch the blades, and activate Sword Djinn, doing max damage. Some other talents that I think are good with this build are Enchanted Djinn to help your crit chance with power, Healing Blades for health, Major Enchantment to keep enchantment up, Dancing Blades will make your special last longer if you're struggling with the timing, and Tornado Jump for extra damage on your backflips. I think the magical objects for a build like this are pretty simple. Just take more power damage, take more power charges, special charges so you can have Sword Djinn up more often. Defense charges are always good on Aladdin. They're more intangible and it's more vulnerability. It just helps you escape as well. For the most part, just take those and then whatever you get, maybe Mermaid Tears to help with healing or Unicorn Horn to save you when you're at low health. The other playstyle that I want to talk about mainly involves playing around your enchantment, attack, and defense. This one's a bit more challenging because it asks a lot more of you with shorter timing windows, but it does have very high uptime with all of your abilities. But I'll show you a build that I get here that practically makes him unkillable with a lot of damage. I think playing builds like this will help you get better at Aladdin because there's a lot of interesting synergies that he has between his talents, and I'll give you an example here. So let's say you're level 1 and you take his starting talent, Aerial Catch. One of his tougher starting talents in my opinion. Aerial Catch is going to ask you to change your playstyle, and I'd recommend getting one more defense charge at least if you're going to go with this. The reason I recommend having 2 defenses in this build is you're using your defense to engage now if you're using abilities like dive or air dash. So you want to have a second defense that you can always use to backflip yourself out and get out of danger. But now, instead of throwing your blades into a group, using your power into the enemies, and then using your defense to escape, your defense should now be timed with your special to give you a shield and help you tank an attack. Then let's say at level 2 you get dive, which makes you do an AoE while hitting attack during defense. Now in a way, your defense has become your best offensive ability. Here you should throw your blades into a group, use defense over the group to make them vulnerable, catch your blades to gain a shield, then use attack to slam down on everything. This combo can extend and become harder to pull off, but also become more rewarding if you get things like air dash and slide attack. Now imagine throwing your blades into a group, using your attack to slide into an enemy, then using your defense, and then air dash to catch your blades to boost your attack speed and giving you a shield, then pressing attack before landing to slam down. It's a whole lot to keep track of, but the more you get comfortable with this playstyle, the better Aladdin will feel. I think players find Aladdin tough a lot of times because it's tough to keep track of all the abilities you have and what you should be doing. I think one of the tricks to playing Aladdin better is every time you unlock a talent, make sure you focus on it and are using it so that the entire time you're leveling up to your next talent, it becomes muscle memory for you. Okay, I'm in post and I'm just going to kind of clarify what I was saying there because it might have been convoluted. And sorry if I sound different. Basically what I'm saying is when you play Aladdin, I think you should do some runs where you take the things that might be more uncomfortable or make his combos more challenging. Like say you have Aerial Catch and your first ability is slide or slide attack. Go ahead and take it and make sure every single time you throw your blades you use that slide attack and just focus on that as your level 2, making your way to level 3. And then say you hit level 3 and you get air dash. Well, you have Aerial Catch, so you want to use your defense and catch your blades, but you also want to use air dash. So now just add on to your combo and focus on it every time. Throw your blades, use your slide attack, use your defense to dodge, air dash, catch your blades, and get your attack speed boost. And just focus on it each level. Make sure you just grind that and focus on that until it becomes muscle memory. And then by the end of your run, when you have 9 talents and they're all synergizing and working perfectly with each other, you're going to feel like this character is insane. That's all. With Aladdin, you really need to take it one ability at a time and incorporate each ability you get into your playstyle, but it takes a lot more focus than other characters. In this run here, I'm able to show off how less damage-focused talents like Aerial Catch, combined with Fairy Dust, can almost constantly keep me shielded, allowing me to tank a lot of damage and get extra hits off. Other talents that work well with this style are Sharp Blades for more damage and range, Healing Blades for healing, Major Enchantment to keep your enchantment full, Dancing Blades, if you're struggling with the timing of things, it'll give you more time to execute all those things like slide attack and air dash, Spinning Strikes hits pretty hard and does a lot of AoE damage if combined with Dive. Leaping Strike is one of the best just single attack abilities that you can take. After a dash, you're going to do a bunch of damage. And Sand Vortex can actually be alright if you have the abilities like Spinning Strikes or Dive. It can help group up enemies. Master Thief is a unique one because it's basically just gambling, but with the new changes to magical objects, it actually is a huge difference maker if you can get it to proc a few times in a run. Lastly, to talk about co-op, I mainly play with one other person when I play co-op, but the ideas should still translate with more people. Aladdin can become one of the best support characters in co-op with his ability to use his trait to grant consumables to the entire team, and I would mainly focus on this. Dream Wish is a great ultimate that can help push everyone on your team to have boosted crit chance and crit damage, making your runs much easier. In 2-person runs, I normally don't do this, but I think in any more than that, it is worth saving one wish for a revive or heal, because that can help save a run in a pinch. But he is still a pretty strong character on his own, so you can do without all of like the wish spam and just go for a more individual focused build. Just in general, it's not going to be as impactful as granting wishes to your team. Before I wrap up this video, I actually just wanted to go through his talents and just talk about them real quick and what I value. Again, I talked about builds and things that synergize with each other, but I'm going to talk about them just on an individual basis. Aerial Catch, again, I have a tough time with. I think it can work, and I had a build that you saw in the video that worked really, really well. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, even though it does give you armor and defense. Again, it just makes you use your defense more as a tool rather than an escape, and I think if you're starting with Aladdin, you should keep his defense as an escape for a bit. Jinnia's Gift is probably one of his best talents. As you can see, it gains you another trait charge, and you have a good chance at having your talents be at rare above. But the extra trait charge, especially if you're in co-op, just spam all 4 of them at the beginning and get boosted crit damage, crit chance, take this ultimate, and consume your dream shards, and just get your whole team's crit chance and crit damage up. I think Jin's Might is probably his best if you're playing solo. If you're not going for the power build and you're playing solo, I still think Jinnia's Gift is great and just using all the consumables on yourself. But other than that, Jin's Might really, really pushes his power damage up pretty high. I think Wish of Omnipotence is probably his hardest and least useful talent. The only reason I have it completed is because I took that one dream that lets you re-roll all your abilities at the very end and went, cool, I'm going to finish this on Nightmare. It's not, it can work, and it again is better in co-op if you have 3 other people, but I still think you're better off just using that trait for an extra consumable. Slide Attack, I think, is the harder of the attacks. I think if you have the option between Slide Attack and Dive, Dive is much easier to pull off, where Slide Attack sometimes feels dangerous to throw your blades and then go try to slide into an enemy. A lot of times you also throw your blades into a group of enemies, so you'll just be sliding into that same group. This is the new ability. I really, really like this. While Enchantment is active on blades, attacks have increased range and deal 20% more damage. This combos with so many things and does so much. This combos with Spinning Strikes, which I think is pretty good, and you hit really, really wide. This will combo with Leaping Strikes, where you hit really, really wide. It's just a really, really good overall ability that pushes your attack up, especially if you're going with that Enchantment build. Make sure you have this. Air Dash is combos with this really, really well. Again, you can just AoE attack, kill a whole bunch of things. Also, if you get 4 Ace of Spades, that's going to push your attack speed up, which is really good with both of these. You could have 30% more attack speed. Jin's Fury, again, amazing power ability. I take it pretty much every time I see it when I'm doing power, unless it's in competition with Sword Jin. I take Sword Jin over it. Healing Blades is it's a pretty good way to actually recover health. You're going to be throwing your blades out pretty much all the time as Aladdin. Like, there's no reason to really save them. So that's good healing. Major Enchantment is the one I like more of the enchantment gaining perks. The other one is using defense over an enemy grants 3 enchantment points. If you have multiple defense charges, you can just spam it and get full enchantment, which is nice. This one is just the constant sustain to your enchantment points, which is nice. Dancing Blades, I think the better you get with Aladdin, the less you need this. I think this is helpful for if you're starting Aladdin and you have like air dash, you have slide attack, you have dive, you have aerial catch, and you really need to focus on your timing with this. But I think as you get better with Aladdin, you don't need this. It is technically a way to build enchantment more. Like if you don't have one of this or this, you can throw it into a group and it's just going to sit there building enchantment for you longer. But I don't really use it that much. Same with Sand Vortex. Your blades deal more damage. I'm letting you know your blades are not going to be the thing doing damage for you as Aladdin. Like you're not relying on them for your damage. But again, it does pull in enemies around, so it does combo well with things like dive and spinning strikes. I talked about this a little bit, but again, your power, when triggering power, Jin hits all nearby enemies and deals 50% of power damage. If they ever change this to the end where your power connects, it'll be really good. Sometimes I do use my power and I don't get a full charge because it does a lot of stagger. So say you have a whole bunch of spiders around you and then there's a big spider. Yeah, it comes in handy there. It'll kill all the spiders, but it's tough to make it work. Spinning strikes, I think I said, was a pretty good ability. It does a lot of AoE and it hits pretty hard. I already talked about this. Swordjin, again, one of probably the best talent, individual talent in the game. It does so much damage. Again, you see it in a wider range as well at the bottom. Like, this is an amazing ability. This is also an amazing ability. It makes you hit really, really hard, and if you have enchantment up, it's a very easy one-shot ability on like the smaller mobs. I really, really like Tornado Jump because when you defense over an enemy, you're making them vulnerable. So this is already just instantly doing more damage. If you have like 4 defenses, you can just spam 4 defenses over an enemy and they can't touch you because you're invulnerable, and you'll have tornadoes that just kill them. Also, if you have dive and tornado jump and multiple charges, it becomes a pretty nasty combo. I don't really like dream scimitars. It's a way to get dream shards. If you have hope diamond, then yeah, maybe you want it, but I think you're going to get so much more out of any other Aladdin ability than this in a run that I just don't think the shards are worth it at the end of the day. I mean, shards are more impactful in this update, so if you see it as your first ability and you're okay with your damage, you know, maybe it could be a whole bunch of shards by the end of the run, but I don't think it matters that much. I touch on Master Thief as well. When it procs, it's amazing. You could have a run where it won't proc at all and you're like, why do I even have this talent? So I would probably only use this once you start getting more comfortable with him, and taking this over another talent won't hurt you as much, like if you're more skilled with him. And then Enchanted Jinn, if you have the power build, this also allows you to get more enchantment points, which is really, really nice. And one of the things here is if you have a lot of crit chance, once you pass 100% crit chance, that crit, like the extra crit chance, is applied to your crit damage. So it can consume up to 5 enchantment points to increase the crit chance per enchantment point. If you have over 5, like if you have well over this, all of that extra crit chance is being applied to your crit damage. So this is one of the things that is kind of necessary to get those insane boss, like 1 shot or 2 shots, because of how much crit it will apply to that. But I don't think it's necessary for the power build. I think the power build is going to be strong enough. This kind of becomes overkill. And if you don't have a way to build enchantment, like if you don't have major enchantment or acrobatics, then I don't think it's really that worth it. And just remember that if you're new and you're playing Aladdin and struggling with him, he is one of the more mechanically complex characters, as his abilities are meant to synergize under quick timings. So don't be discouraged if you're having a hard time with him. And as you get better at the game and play with him more and learn enemy timings, your Aladdin playstyle will start to make more sense. And again, I think for the most part, just focus on it one talent at a time. Whatever talent you choose, really focus on honing in that talent as you use it and as you gain your next level up. Other than this guide, I currently only have a Sun Wukong guide up. I am going to be working on other guides for other characters. And then I also just have some co-op gameplay on my channel right now if you want to see how me and one of my buddies run through the game. Alright, peace.